lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan,
And I'm Manny.
and we are back talking some more awesome comic books. We are talking Fantastic Four 1, 2, 3, 4 by Grant Morrison, Jae Lee, and Jose Villarrubia from the Marvel Knights line. Very excited to talk about this. Before I get into it, I just want to remind everybody, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Check out some of the rest of the dope content on here. We go through artist editions, we go through a bunch of interviews, single issues, trades, hardcovers, all that good stuff. So hit that subscribe button. And now let's talk about this comic, because I have never read this before. This is the first time I've ever read it.
Pretty much the same for me, man, because when you mentioned it, I hadn't thought about this book at all. It had just kind of erased into my memory. And then when you mentioned it, I was like, fuck, I remember reading, I think maybe like a second or third issue that I had picked up because, of Morrison's name and also Jae Lee. But I had never read it in its entirety, so I had no idea what it was going to be about or how it was going to read. So I was real excited to check it out with almost like a first time perspective myself.
Yeah, and it's obviously it's very timely because I've been on a little bit of a Fantastic Four kick since the poster was showed for the movie that's going to be coming out next year. Kind of been jumping all over the place in terms of what I've been reading Fantastic Four wise, but I remembered that this book existed. I love Jae Lee. He's one of my favorite artists. So this is a long time coming. And I absolutely loved it.
Me too, man. And Jae Lee is also an artist that I was really enamored with when I first saw him, drawing Namor and all that kind of stuff back in the day. And Jose Villarrubia is also one of my favorite colorists.
He's amazing.
And I didn't even know going into this that he had done this, and it's painted on top of it, so it's it's even more special. So I was real excited when you said that you wanted to talk about this, man.
Yeah, I love. First of all, I love this font for the Fantastic Four logo, and I love that they used it within the title page. Once upon a time on Yancey Street, and we open up with a thing. It's taking down some crooks, and they're sitting under there complaining about how they've been attacked.
Yeah, almost a collateral damage too, you know, of the fight.
I love this line by the cop too. He's like, UFF guys, you're supposed to be scientists or explorers or something, right? No offense, but you can leave the coked up super crooks kind of thing to the professional.
Man, I miss Marvel Knights where it was just they took more chances with the kind of stories they wrote and the way that the dialogue was. It was somewhere in between regular and mature. It wasn't quite Vertigo. But I think I mentioned to you while we were messaging about this that this almost read like a Vertigo Fantastic Four, if that makes any sense to you.
I love that he calls it out. He's like, next time if Galactus comes, I'll just chill and let you guys handle it. And he's like, and he yells at him, dude, and he's like, I'm just trying to put something out back into the community.
And then the colors are so good.
Yeah, dude. And as he's walking away, they're calling him a jerk, and they're like, oh, you don't get me started on the Human Torch. And then we come to the Baxter Building. And I love this because this is something that's been prevalent, I think, throughout Fantastic Four, is when Reed just gets so wrapped up in science that he ignores his loved ones and not being attentive not being attentive to his wife. I was reading an older Fantastic Four, I think it was in the 90s in terms of issue number. I think at this point they weren't married yet, but you can just see how he ignores Sue a lot. And so this is super prevalent here, it's you hear the mention of Atlantis because there's a humidity in the air surrounding New York. So it's kind of foretelling something we're going to see later in the series. But this page right here, dude, was so dope.
It's so dope, man. And
keep out. Yeah.
And I like how Jae Lee really sort of brings out the body horror aspects that the Fantastic Four have, which, a lot of people don't really realize that their transformations are pretty horrifying if you were going to witness them in person. I mean, someone lighting on fire, someone disappearing, Mr. Fantastic's body, contorting in really weird ways. It would be somewhat disturbing to see them do these kind of things. Yeah. And Jae Lee brings that out. I mean, that's an almost disturbing image of Mr. Fantastic. I mean, look at all the electricity and the slight distortion of his limbs. It's unsettling.
And he's just so unaware of everything, what the rest of his, quote unquote family are dealing with. Each of them has their own issues, right? Thing, obviously, just the way he looks. He's the most monster looking of all of them, right?
Right.
Human
Yeah.
Torch has his own things that he's got dealing with, and then you got Sue dealing with her issues, not necessarily having to do with her powers, but just like relationship wise.
This made me think that like Morrison is such an obvious person to write the Fantastic Four. Like I would have loved to see more of him write the Fantastic Four because I feel like he could take it into some really crazy levels. Like
It would have been interesting for sure,
yeah, like look at what he did with the X-Men. Imagine him bringing that sort of those sort of like ideas to the Fantastic Four. I think it really could have been something. I mean, we got this, which you see a lot of it in here, so
Yeah.
I
I mean,
can't complain.
you think about like what he did, like big ideas with Justice League, right? The big ideas,
Yeah,
he's like Invisibles, all that stuff, Superman, Final Crisis, Batman, the stuff that he was able to do with that. But these like just a fucking crazy sci-fi book by Morrison would have been really dope. And I love this, like again, you see Thing, I just want to be treated normal. And he's always angry, right? And he's angry
yes,
because of like the stuff that he's dealing with. He's not like the rest of them where their bodies weren't transformed, at least visually, right? Like they're
yeah, or at
transformed
least
into
they can have yeah,
a
yeah,
normal life.
you're right, exactly. Their bodies can transform back into a normal appearance, even though they might look horrifying when their powers are being used. They had that option. Ben Grimm does not.
Yeah. And then we got Sue confiding in Alicia, um, you
Yeah,
know, who's like, I love this, how her statues that she makes out of clay, it's like Doctor Doom, Namor, Mole Man, which is
yeah.
also funny because that leads into who we're gonna see in
Who
this book. It like foretells
and who
that
her
too.
father is,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Um,
also love that Morrison was able to work in almost all the classic Fantastic Four villains and like reference story arcs. Like as far out and nuts as this story is, it's still grounded in a lot of like things that people are familiar with the FF. I love this page with the buildings, man.
oh, it's fantastic. I love this Doom bot that's just fucking connected to a bunch of fucking wires too, and it comes
Yeah,
online. This is Doom is gonna basically manipulate Ben from here
yeah.
on out, right? Like this is I love this page of Ben just knocking the fucking head off and it's still talking to him.
Very Shakespearean with like Hamlet and the skull. I'm pretty sure that's a conscious effort on Morrison's part. I mean,
For
he's a
sure.
fan of classic literature as well, so
Yeah, this is pretty crazy, he's like he's tired of being the villain in Richard's private drama. I'm tired of lies, I'm tired of it all. I like that he takes this like gauntlet on, puts it on his hand, and then gets transported straight to Doom's castle.
awesome. And I just love that. I mean, and I love the manipulation that Doom is doing. Like he's among many things, Doctor Doom is a master manipulator, and like that aspect of him is shown so great here. Like Morrison writes such a great Doom, like
Yeah.
from the pontification and the monologues, and like again, like I mentioned Shakespeare earlier, there is a Shakespearean quality to this story too. Like it's there's a lot of like grandness to Doom here, like and
Yeah.
that's who the character is, at least to me, like
Yeah,
someone
well,
who obviously loves to hear himself talk.
yeah, and I think that Morrison does a great job of putting the voice in these grandiose characters that have these
Yes.
like larger than life personalities. And I think it's what's really awesome is that within just a few pages, he's got their voices down. Like I don't think he's
Yep.
written any Fantastic Four before since this. I mean I could be wrong. There may be something out there that I just don't know of, but for him to capture their voices so perfectly and just pull you in and like this scene, just the way he wrote this scene between Doom and Ben, and he's like telling to put an end to the sick dream of Reed Richards and shows him what he looks like under the mask, but we don't see it. That also is like it's not just the scarred face that Ben ends up seeing. He sees something else. And he basically tells him, he's like, that you could have been healed. Right. And that just ask Reed. And he talks about the way, like, because Ben was in love with Sue and he's like, oh, he married the woman you once cared for, only to ignore her. He tells you there's no cure, but all I need is 5 minutes and I can do it. And that's just like, and you see it like Ben knows better than to trust Doom. Yet he still, that desire of wanting to be human again outweighs his common sense in this part, right? Like the desire just to be a normal human being again trumps everything to him. And he uses time travel, which is fucking this is so Morrison, dude.
It is, man. It is. And what a great page. And I also love that when you get into the past, like the grayed out, the grayscale
Oh yeah.
coloring, it's just so good, man. Like having Jose Villarrubia color this was such a masterstroke. Like I said, I think he's one of the best colorists that we've ever had. And like, there's something very horrifying about Jay Lee's art. There always has been. I mean, Jay Lee, I think, is a darker artist when it comes to like the way he draws his lines. Like everything is slightly distorted. Like there's a surreal quality that I think really works in this book.
Yeah, you mentioned his Namor stuff. That would be something I would love to talk
Yeah,
about
I have a couple of issues,
together.
and we could definitely get into some of those sometime.
Yeah, and then that Spider-Man Iron Fist story that he did.
Yes.
Like, I would definitely be down to talk about some old school Jay Lee.
Yeah, bro. Let's do it sometime. Because I mean,
Yeah.
just reading this made me realize, fuck, I haven't really looked at any Jay Lee art
His
in a
Dark
while.
Tower stuff is fantastic.
Yes, man. And you and I are both huge Dark Tower
Now
fans.
that is we should probably talk about that first book for sure.
Yeah, definitely, bro. That's the definite. I mean, that book series and character is near to my heart. I literally have it inked on my arm, so we definitely got to talk about it.
Hell yeah, dude. And I love like as Ben's like going through the town and he like realizes something's different. He's not being allowed access to the Baxter building. And you see Doom saying, "How to destroy a man, grant him his heart's desire. 1." And that's the countdown because he does that for each one.
And I love that structure. Like I love that, like, you're like, as freaking weird as this story gets, like it still is a classic story of Doom trying to fuck with a Fantastic Four,
Systematically taking them down, dude. And
Yeah.
then Ben gets hit by this fucking car and that fucking silhouette with the blood splatter.
Oh,
So
dude,
good.
amazing, man. Like it almost has like a Sin City like Frank Miller quality to it in like
Yeah.
the extreme black and white image.
I love this cover to issue 2 also with Namor and Sue, and you just see Reed in his lab screaming with his arms outstretched.
There's almost like a romance comic, quality to it too. Again, distorted because Jay Lee is really pulling out, all the stops when it comes to making this a very horrifying story.
Yeah, I really dig the, staring at the fish tank chapter. Sue's
Yes,
invisible. Exclusively almost the whole time, I think. I mean,
yeah,
she's literally sitting there talking to Alicia and she's invisible, which is funny because she's making herself invisible to somebody that's blind and can't even see her anyway. And I just found
it tells you a lot about
really
Sue.
nice.
It tells you a lot about Sue.
Mm-hmm. These are some great panels too, just like the back and forth between Sue and Alicia, and then Namor gets brought up because there was a little bit of a romance with Namor in the throughout the history of Fantastic Four.
The choices on like the close up of the chopsticks and like
yeah,
like it's very cinematic. It's like a scene like with two people talking where like you wouldn't be seeing like a one shot of the two actors. You'd just be seeing a lot of close ups of like what they're doing. And it just makes everything so flow. I mean,
yeah,
Jay Lee is doing some great work here. I love that image of Mr. Fantastic too.
Oh, dude, it's so good. And then you see Johnny fucking speeding through, talking about Namor, talking shit about him, and his fucking hair just fucking bursts into flame.
I love the rain too. It's hard to make rain look really good in comics.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just looks like it's in the way. But not here, man. Here it really adds a lot of atmosphere. That's what it is. This book is filled with such an atmosphere of dread.
Yeah.
It reads almost like a horror comic.
I thought so when I was reading it too. Yeah. I mean, look at this. Now Ben loses his fucking arm.
Yeah.
They had to cut
it off.
David
Cronenberg directed the Fantastic Four.
And then again, just as we were talking about, like this, Sue is just dealing with this like lack of like any kind of emotion that she's receiving from Reed, and she just goes back and forth talking about it. Again, Namor is always brought up. She says, "Why does everyone think I'm obsessed with Namor's magnificent body?" Like she didn't have to put that. She didn't have to put that word "magnificent" in there, man.
She didn't, yeah, man.
Because like she is intrigued, right? Like there is some sort of like attraction.
And there always has been on both their parts, and like maybe it's only physical, but that makes her such a human character because like sometimes you are just physically attracted to someone, and like and that seems to be the case here because Namor is borderline a villain sometimes, but she can't help but have this magnetic chemistry with him too.
Mm-hmm. I love this line that Alicia says where she's like, well, first Sue's like, why can't he just talk to me like a normal person? She's talking about Reed. And
Yeah.
Alicia's like, because all four of you went into space and came back different from everyone else. There's no way back to normal. Reed's body and brain have become completely malleable. He has thoughts and ideas and sensations we can barely dream of. Who's to say he isn't there for you right now? Like, that to me is pretty crazy to think about. Like, that his brain also is malleable, right? So, like,
Right.
how many different parts of his brain is he using? Like, he was already a genius before this, but like
Right.
now he's able to expand his mind even further.
And can he even like alter like the like the transistors or whatever you want to call them, like the synapses in his brain to
Mm-hmm.
work differently, like to store more information or to make different connections oh, dude, I love that. Like
It's
that
so
is like
creepy
horrifying.
looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, and two, the family falls, right? So he just like I really dig that part of the story where he's like counting down, and it doesn't always necessarily
Yes.
happen at the end of the issue. It's just like as soon as another fucking domino falls, he makes that fucking remark.
And it's great classic supervillain stuff, man. Like even him holding like the little statues and crushing them, like it's so good.
How about this page of the Navor, dude?
Oh, dude, yeah, bro.
The
Like
storm has
he's
come.
just.
Susan, let me look at you. And she's all she says is, "Oh God, I'm married."
But the look on her face is, betrays that a little bit because she's
Yeah.
obviously attracted, and
Oh, dude, she's
he's
all
just
about
standing
it,
there
dude.
in his tidy greenies, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Showing off his 6 pack abs.
She's all about him right now, man. I
Yeah,
love this too. And like Johnny, he pulls up and he's just like tells her to take the fucking car, and he walks down the street, and you see that he's not like this perfect, like happy-go-lucky guy that he normally is, right? He's some nights it's just too exhausting being me.
because he's sort of like the celebrity of the Fantastic
Yeah.
Four. So like he's almost always has to be on, and like that's how he's portrayed. And Morrison here is adding a little bit of depth to him because it's showing him that like you said, he's not this happy-go-lucky guy all the time. He's a person with his own issues and his own feelings and his own, insecurities. I love this image too of
With
like
the mole
the
man creature coming out.
yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking sick, dude. I love it. And then like just the flame on, and then it ends. It's such a great way to end it, and then you fucking transport into the
Dude,
next
these three
issue,
panels with him and doing the
the
classic,
four.
like
Sick.
amazing. That's a sick ass page and probably one of my favorites in the whole
Oh,
story.
I totally agree. I love this too, is like the flames are just getting bigger and bigger, and you see him in the middle of it all. And then again, like I said, when Doom calls the numbers out, now it's at the beginning of the issue. And three, right? So now each he's gotten Ben in issue one, he got Sue in issue two, and now in issue three, Torch is the one that's gonna be affected by this. And we don't even know why he's saying three. Like, what is the reason he's like Johnny is quote unquote taken out by this? And we find out later throughout the issue of like why Mole Man is the one that gets Johnny, right?
What a beautiful image of Doctor Doom, man.
Yes, dude, I love it.
Just the folds on his cloak, and like the way the candles are in the darkness of it. I mean, the
Mhm.
composition that Jay Lee is doing is really good.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And then the next page where he's like sitting in his lab and he's just talking about his master plan of how human lives and histories are his pawn or are simply pawns in the great game of Dominion, Doom's game.
Yeah,
And
he perfectly captures like Doom's like megalomania. Like and we
yeah,
we got like a giant Doom bot coming. Like they're
mhm.
so at the same time as it's great because they're distorting the Fantastic Four into something new while still keeping the elements that made it classic, like Mole Man and Doom and time travel, like you said. But they're still making it weird. This is almost like David Lynch, or you know what I'm saying? Like it's surreal, man.
Oh yeah, dude, it's one of my it became one of my favorite Fantastic Four stories,
And
easily.
I think
Like
it's not talked about enough. Like, so I'm glad we're doing this because a lot of
yeah.
people don't even mention it. I think it's kind of forgotten.
I think so too. Like I obviously time has made me kind of like pass this by where like I wasn't thinking about it. And that once I saw that poster, I was like, you know what? I want to read something Fantastic Four. And then for some reason this popped up into my mind. And I was thinking about that Jay Lee. I was thinking about this specific cover by Jay Lee with Namor and Sue. And I'm so glad that I picked it up at the shop. I mean, I don't regret it at all. I love this watching, Namor taking out Johnny all through through the rain, and because of the hurricanes raging, like that's why it's the storm has now come over New York. Sue begging him not to do this. And I love this. I didn't know this, but like his bioelectric aura can short circuit hers. That's why she can't use her force fields. That's fucking nuts, dude. I had no idea that that was even a thing. And I don't know if it's ever been mentioned before or after,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
was new to
I
me.
don't know either, but that is interesting, and and it makes their dynamic that much more intense.
He just wants her to forget her family. Just come with me. Isn't it what you yearn for? And then we go back to Reed. And it's funny because like Reed is like doing his own thing, but we keep seeing him be affected throughout, right? Like
Yeah,
we'll get a random image of him like here with all this electrical fucking synapses going all over the place and him like with his face all scrunched up.
he
And I
almost looks
love,
like he's in pain here.
yeah, I love how we see Johnny like with the flames gone, he's falling straight into that pit where that mole man creature came out.
Yes.
And this has to be the creepiest I've ever seen mole man.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say Jay Lee probably this is might be my favorite mole man. I mean, like from the image of him, like basically sitting there grotesque and naked, like
Mhm.
truly monstrous. He literally looks like a disgusting thing.
And it's fucking crazy because like he's telling Alicia like we're perfectly matched. Neither can see the other's ugliness. So he's like saying that she's ugly, but both of them can't see, right? Like Mole Man, I believe he lost his vision from
Yeah, or it's very
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 like
poor.
yeah,
Yeah,
just fucking creepy to hear the Mole Man is special. It's you who are nothing, and he's saying that to Johnny. And so now he's basically just to kind of get ahead of it, but like this is how Johnny gets taken out. Johnny's becomes the slave of Mole Man, and Alicia is basically his prize as his queen.
dude, these panels that are coming together like puzzle pieces is so beautiful.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I've never really seen anything like that. And the white space area, like again, a beautifully composed page by Jay Lee, and like the colors by Villarubia. I mean, these I don't know if they work together more often, but if they didn't, they really should have.
Yeah, I like this too. Like we're seeing Ben like writhing around, like in this hospital bed, lost his arm. He's thinking about, Reed, and he knew it was right for a guy his size to protect people who are too weak to protect themselves. This is great writing. And he's like, and it's about the closest thing I ever had to religion. But the truth is, I always just went along with anyone who seemed like they had a plan. That's just like it's crazy because like he put himself in that position. Why? Because he was like protecting somebody else, and then he's the one that got fucking screwed in the end. And then we see this doctor and the nurse. This is so fucked up. They're just like talking shit about him as he's laying there in bed.
Yeah.
And now Ben's trying to get revenge against Reed and finish this. And now we get Namor back in. This is where we start to learn the plan of, how they're all connected. Namor, Doom, and Mole Man. Is this the luxuries you are these the luxuries you promised Namor? So like Namor gets Sue, like, and then what I said about Mole Man, right? So this is how all the pieces are being taken off the chessboard, basically by Doom.
Yeah.
And I love this, dude. How Namor's looking down at Mole Man. Oh, dude,
Arrogant as fuck as
yeah.
always.
He's like, I get the underworld, you get the ocean, and he's like, this is Doom's best offer that we make an alliance. And then we see this fucking Doombot come straight out of the ocean, dude. This is so
Yeah,
fucking
dude,
awesome.
it's like a kaiju. I love it. It's like
Mhm.
Godzilla or something, man.
Namor's backing out, and he always does this, dude. You think he's on your side, and when you least expect it, he's going back on the plan. He fucking breaks open. Like I love this scene of him just shattering the ground, and the ocean is now gonna fucking flow through Mole
And
Man's
what a
fucking
great line. Learn to swim.
yeah. So now Mole Man gets taken off the board.
What a
Johnny,
great
Alicia,
image.
Sue, and Namor are now gonna fucking make their escape from there. And then we get this amazing double page spread with Doom towering over, and we just see Reed again connected through all these like wires all over him. It's fucking sick.
I love this line too. My name is Reed Richards. I've never really told anyone the truth about my violent intent.
And it's crazy because I was like, wait, what the fuck? So
Right.
now
Yeah,
he
I was
murdered
too.
somebody?
And then you kind of get the twist that this is all part of, spoilers for a story that's like 20 years old, but like this is Doom almost trying to rewrite history or reality in a weird way, like
Right. So
make people
where
think.
that he's actually like a dark Reed Richards.
Right.
Like he's the evil of Reed. That's what he is. And it's just so fucking weird and twisted.
And I
And
mean, thematically, it's kind of true. I mean, like, I mean,
yeah.
Doom is, obviously a person, but they are very similar people, and Doom is a dark reflection of Reed Richards, So thematically, he's not wrong. It's not. He's just not a physical manifestation of his evil like he's trying to play here. That's
Yeah.
just part of his con. But the theme is very much true.
I love this page right here with the different statues on these different levels, right? And Doom and this like fucking energy surrounding his head. This is so sick.
Yes, dude. Again, like look at the way that like he's drawing the perspective in that. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is I mean, I really just want to look at the art on these last few pages because it's fucking so good. The way this is laid out is
Amazing, dude. Amazing. Like the Doombot looking through the Baxter building, like these, these jagged. There's so much jagged panels. Like everything is like slicing into itself and
Mhm.
like creating this really strange, again, atmosphere. I mean, these are beautiful pages. This is some of the best stuff I've seen Jae Lee do.
Oh, I agree, dude. I love this too. Like, the team's coming back together. Everything is the family's being reunited and everything is,
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's all wrapped up nicely, but even this part with like Namor, she's like, "Can I rely on you?" And she just plants that fucking kiss on him, dude.
Yeah, and Doom's plan has been revealed. As always,
Yeah.
he's been trying to manipulate things from the very beginning. And again, classic FF story. It all goes back to Doom trying to do what he does, which is destroy the Fantastic Four. At its core, it's a classic, simple FF story. It's just filtered through like Morrison's like way to make things weird and Jae Lee's like surreal art.
Yeah. And I like, Ben's now going to become the thing again. Usually these issues where like he loses his power or he becomes human again, it always kind of like wraps up where like he accepts who he is, and that this is who
Yeah.
he's meant to be. And it's a great way for it to end with his part where he's like, want to guess what time it is? I wish he would have just said clobbering time, dude. I was like,
Yes. Yeah.
but it was still very effective, the way it ends
Yes.
here. Reed has been fucking watching this all along. So where Doom thought he was gonna get one over on Reed, no. Reed knew this was happening. He could sense it. Like that's crazy to me. Like just
Yeah.
that thought of like
And
Reed being in the
yeah.
lab knew what Doom was doing and was able
And he
to
was
expand his mind and was able to like be a
wait for
step
the right
ahead of him.
moment to counter strike. I love the ending too when it's like Latvian embassy denies Von Doom's involvement in the unprovoked assault on New York City. He's like, no, like he doesn't even get fucking credit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking funny, dude.
Like it's like that's the worst you could do to Doom, man. Is like his ego is really like the. I mean, his ego's the reason he wears that fucking mask. You know what I mean? So like, it's always ultimately his undoing. Yeah.
I think it's a great way to end it. I think it's a fantastic comic.
Yeah. I don't know if it's currently in print. I mean, the edition you have is older, and I have a digital one.
Yeah, this edition is from 2018, so not super old, but I'm sure
Not
if it's
super.
I'm sure if it's out of print, it's going to come back into print. I mean, this was one of the best of the. I mean, look at this, the other Marvel Knights lineup of books that they did back in this era. It was a great time for Marvel. I wish they'd bring the Marvel Knights imprint back.
I do
Like
too.
I think it has a place at Marvel. It's like you said, it's not necessarily, it doesn't go as hard as like Vertigo or like what Marvel did with Max, but it is that nice in between. It's a little bit more of a mature storyline. And to get I think it'd be a good imprint to let creators do their kind of one-off stories that don't necessarily have to be
Correct. Yeah, I
so
agree with that too, man.
yeah.
And still like not have to go full blown Max, which said sometimes get overshadowed by like the violence, where like you feel like maybe they're just doing it because they can curse and have like nudity. Like this allows you to go a little farther and get these weirdo ideas and like these slightly darker tones that I think some of these concepts can really pull through.
Yeah, totally agreed. So if you haven't read this, go pick it up. It's a great story, beautifully illustrated and so well written. So Fantastic Four 1, 2, 3, 4, go pick it up. And while you're at it, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, we're out.